Before the instructions begin, please make sure to put your phone to silent mode. Electronic devices other than the calculator on your desk are not allowed during the study. Also, please do not communicate with others during the study. At any time, if you have questions, please raise your hand. After the study, please do not discuss the tasks in the study with anyone. The experiment will last around 100 minutes. Each participant is guaranteed to receive a participation fee. In addition, if you complete the study fully, you will receive a completion fee and some bonus. The amount of bonus will depend on your decisions in this study. You must be willing to receive your payment for this study by cash at the end of the study today. To make sure that you understand the instructions fully and correctly, you will need to answer some comprehension questions at various points during the study. You will not be eligible for any bonus if you make more than 2 mistakes in your answers to the comprehension questions. We guarantee that all the answers you provide will be kept confidential and used for research purposes only. The study consists of 29 rounds. Each round involves 2 assets, so there are 58 assets in total. You will own exactly one of the 58 assets. Which asset you own depends on the envelope that you will draw. I prepared 58 envelopes, one envelope for each asset. Each one of you will draw an envelope. You're not allowed to open the envelope. At the end of the study, I will open the envelopes, and the asset written inside your envelope will be the asset that you own. You can either keep the asset you own or sell your asset at a given price, which I will call the selling price. Your selling price depends on the next envelope you will draw. I prepared 40 envelopes with amounts ranging from $0 to $20. Each one of you will draw an envelope. At the end of the experiment, I will open the envelopes and the amount written in your envelope will be your selling price. Your decision of keeping or selling the asset you own will determine the bonus you will receive from this study. If you keep the asset you own, your bonus will be equal to the value of that asset. If you sell your asset, your bonus will equal the selling price. Now, let me tell you about the details of the assets. As I mentioned before, each round involves 2 assets. One asset will be called the red asset, and the other one will be called the blue asset. One of these 2 assets will be worth $20, and the other will be worth $0. Which one is which in each round will depend on the number on the asset card, which is a card that I will randomly draw from a deck of cards. There are 10 cards in each deck. The cards are numbered from 1 to 10, one card for each number. In each round, before the questions, you will see a picture describing how the number on the asset card determines the values of the assets. For example, you may see the following picture. This picture indicates that if the number on the asset card is between 1 and 7, then the red asset is worth $20 and the blue asset is worth 0. If the number on the asset card is between 8 and 10, then the blue asset is worth $20 and the red asset is worth 0. Also note that the values of the assets of one round are not correlated with those of another round. I will not reveal the asset card to you before you answer the questions, but I will publicly reveal all asset cards at the end of the experiment. For each asset, you will be asked to indicate whether you want to sell the asset at the selling price if this asset turns out to be the asset that you own. More specifically, in the first question in each round, you will be asked to fill out the following sentences. Suppose I own the red asset in this round. Then I am willing to sell this asset at the selling price so long as the selling price is at least blank. If the selling price is lower than this amount, then I prefer to keep this asset. The second question is very similar to the first one, except that the red asset is replaced by the blue asset. If you're indifferent between keeping an asset and selling it for X dollars, then it is in your best interest to answer X in the corresponding question. Let me explain why this is the case. Let's assume that it turns out that you own a red asset and you're indifferent between keeping this red asset and selling it for $12. Then, if you write down $12, you will always receive your preferred option between this red asset and the selling price. Suppose your selling price turns out to be 13. Then, we know that you prefer to sell the red asset for $13 rather than keep it, so you will receive $13 as your bonus. Suppose instead, your selling price turns out to be $11. Then we know that you prefer to keep the red asset, so you will keep the red asset and your bonus will be its value. Overstating or understating your answer will make you worse off because it decreases your chance of getting your preferred option. Another simple rule to keep in mind is the following. If the asset is very attractive to you, you should answer a high number so that you're more likely to keep the asset. If the asset is not very attractive, you should answer a low number so that you're more likely to sell your asset for some money. Now, please answer the comprehension question. You may refer to the script of instructions on your desk when you answer the questions. In this part, it will be uncertain how the asset card determines the values of the assets. For example, you may see the following picture. There are two scenarios. In the first scenario, which I will call scenario O, the red asset is worth $20 if the asset card is between 1 and 5, and the blue asset is worth $20 if the asset card is between 6 and 10. In the second scenario, which I will call scenario E, the values of the assets depend on whether the asset card is smaller than 10 or equal to 10. Which scenario is the true scenario depends on the scenario card, which is randomly drawn from a deck of 8 cards. If the number on the scenario card is an odd number, scenario O will become the true scenario. If the number on the scenario card is an even number, scenario E will become the true scenario. Note that the draws of cards are not correlated across rounds. Neither the asset card nor the scenario card will be revealed to you before you answer the questions, but you're free to inspect them after the experiment. In this part, similar to part 1, a randomly drawn asset card will determine the values of the assets in each round. What's new is that before you answer the questions in each round, an analyst will make a report on the values of the assets. However, the analyst is not always right. Whether the analyst's report is correct depends on the info card, which is a card that I will randomly draw from a second deck of cards. Similar to the deck of cards from which I draw the asset card, there are 10 cards in this deck. The cards are numbered from 1 to 10, one card for each number. In each round, you will see a picture describing how the info card determines the correctness of the analyst's report. Let me give you an example. You may see the following picture. This picture indicates that if the info card is between 1 and 7, then the analyst will make a correct report. If the info card is between 8 and 10, then the analyst will make an incorrect report. I will publicly announce the report of the analyst, but I will not reveal whether the report is correct until the end of the experiment. Also note that since the random draws of info cards across rounds are independent, the analyst's correctness is not correlated across rounds. In this part, it will be uncertain how the info card determines the correctness of the analyst's report. For example, you may see the following picture. There are two scenarios. In scenario O, the analyst makes a correct report if the info card is between 1 and 5, and he makes an incorrect report otherwise. In scenario E, the report is correct if the info card is between 1 and 9, and the report is incorrect otherwise. Which scenario is the true scenario depends on the scenario card, which is randomly drawn from a deck of 8 cards. If the number on the scenario card is odd, scenario O will become the true scenario. If the number on the scenario card is even, scenario E will become the true scenario. Note that the draws of cards are not correlated across rounds. I will announce the report of the analyst before you answer the questions, but I will not reveal any card before the end of the experiment. In this part, it will be uncertain how the asset card determines the values of the assets. For example, you may see the following picture describing the two scenarios. Which scenario is the true scenario depends on the scenario card, which is randomly drawn from a deck of 8 cards. If the number on the scenario card is odd, scenario O will become the true scenario. If the number on the scenario card is even, scenario E will become the true scenario. Before you answer the questions, an analyst will make a report on the values of the assets. The correctness of the analyst's report will depend on the info card. There will not be multiple scenarios for how the info card determines the correctness of the report. Note that the draws of cards are not correlated across rounds. I will announce the report of the analyst before you answer the questions, but I will not reveal any card before the end of the experiment.